Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Spilling the Beans. I'm your host, this podcast isn't getting another host, so I don't know if I need to always say that. It's not going to be like The Price is Right, where I retire and then, someone else comes. But anyway, if I sound a little tired on this episode, it's because I am a little exhausted. For no particular reason. My brain is just telling me that I need to be tired. But I wanted to record this before too late. Because, did that make sense? Before too late? Yeah, anyway. I want to record an episode so that I could consistently get one out every week. Sorry, I'm so tired that I'm like having to make sure my sentences are correct. Let's hope this isn't a constant thing throughout this episode. But yeah, so excuse me if I sound a little tired, but yes, what I'm going to be talking about today is a few random things to start out. Here's an update. Usually I have like a paper that I wrote stuff on, but I figured out this really good system because sometimes I'll just think about things that I want to talk about on the podcast and I'll just type it in my phone, but I don't want to have to write it down again. So what I do is I email myself the list of things that I wrote down or whatever in my phone, and I email it to myself. That way on an actual computer that's attached to a printer, I can print it out and it'll all be there on the paper, and that way I don't have to fiddle between like my notes app and the Anchor app. And so I think that system will work out really nicely for me. You all couldn't care less what I do, but to me this is the future. I can print out words on paper, and I don't know. I think it honestly fascinates me. I just have this rectangle with a screen on it, and it like powers itself with this battery that I just charge, and I type in the words, using these buttons, and then I can transfer it to like email cyberspace and then access it on another computer device and then print it out. I don't know. It's definitely an improvement over the Gutenberg printing press. Is that what it is? Gutenberg? I'm pretty sure. But you all know what I'm talking about. And I don't know. Things like that just fascinate me. Especially since I'm into like the old shows like Emergency and the A-Team, Adam 12, shows like that, where, those shows were current when it came out. What I mean by that is they took place at essentially the time that the episodes were released. So they had the modern day technology at that time. And I don't know, watching those shows today is interesting because we see kind of what technology they had that was state of the art, or, what prototypes and concepts they had. And I think it's just really interesting to just look back and compare. Like, we just have these weird rectangles in our pockets. We can just whip out and we can talk to anyone in the world that also has a rectangle. If that doesn't amaze people back then I don't know what will. What will? Just 'cause, I don't know, I think it's cool. I really try not to take my blessings for granted, and that mindset really leads me to think about how fascinating and cool that our technology is these days. And I didn't even write down that I was going to talk about that. I just started talking about it. Anyway, I was going to say what I was going to talk about today. So there's your technology spiel. And then I will talk about just a few random things that I wanted to talk about. They're not really related at all, but I wanted to talk about them before I forgot. And while they're still the most relevant to my brain, I had my birthday the other day. And so I will talk about that, kind of the experiences I had with that, And then the big portion that'll probably take up the most time is these things that I unnecessarily rage about. Because over the past year or so, I've noticed that I, I mean, I don't consider myself a very opinionated person, but think I have an opinion on just about everything without even knowing it. Like, I don't think about every single topic that exists because obviously my brain would explode from all the information. But I have a set of beliefs and values and standards and such that I tend to follow, and that pretty much forms an opinion on whatever topic exists. And I don't know. And I'm not one of those people that thinks my opinion's better than everyone else's. I mean, sometimes I do. But I don't know. I think it's just interesting that I seem to have an answer for just about everything, unless it's totally weird and random, and I would never have even subconsciously have thought to think about it. But yeah, so we'll talk about that. Some of the things on this list that I compiled are just kind of, they're all pretty random. Some of them have this theme, but a lot of them are just really random. And so I'll talk about that. And then the last thing is kind of like this, my perspective on art and how art can be objective rather than just merely subjective as far as like how it's interpreted and things. And I'll explain kind of my stance on that. But I guess let's get right to it. Man, I sure hope I don't sound like I'm not interested in what I'm talking about. Maybe this could be like an ASMR video. That's a bad idea. Has anyone that's listening actually seen an ASMR video? Goodness, I can't speak. ASMR video. They're so weird. I've only seen clips and pieces of those videos, but they're really weird. It's just like this person whispering, and they're like talking about some random topic. Like I feel like there was one guy that was like being all quiet, you know, he was whispering, and he was telling you how he was gonna pull out your teeth. And it was super weird. It was like he was giving a calm dental appointment. I don't even know how to describe it. And then I saw another one where there was this guy talking about like this bag of nuts he was holding. Like it was just like this big sack of peanuts. And I mean, you can interpret that how you wish, but I think he was, I don't know. It was weird. And I don't know, that just creeps me out. You know, because the last thing I want when I'm stressed out is just somebody whispering in my ear that it's gonna be okay. You know, like, I don't know. That just doesn't appeal to me. It's the same as they're like those satisfying videos where, you know, they'll like cut things into slices, or it'll be like things fitting perfectly into places, you know, things that like satisfy people, kind of like satisfying an OCD type thing. I don't know, like beautiful calligraphy with the pen, you know, no mistakes or anything. Most of those really don't satisfy me. It's not that I find them unsatisfying, you know what I mean. It's not that I don't find them satisfying. There we go. But I'm just indifferent to a lot of them. Some of them I get. Like, I love when things perfectly fit into other things. Like Tetris. The video game Tetris is a great game because I love the feeling. Even right now as I'm saying it, my eyes are going back into my head because I love when things just fit perfectly into things. Not like you crammed everything in, you're able to fit everything into a suitcase, but like just perfect balance has been achieved. You know? I don't know. Anyway, what was I talking about? ASMR? Anyway, I'm going to talk about hockey. And that's really random because I don't really know much about hockey. I went to my first hockey game with some friends I hope I didn't talk about this in a previous episode. I don't think I did. But anyway, I went to a hockey game at Brigham Young University, and they were playing against Utah State University. And I guess Utah State University is pretty passionate about their hockey team, if I can recall, if I can remember correctly. That's what one of my friends told me. And we had nothing to do. It was originally going to be a date, but then one of my friends on the group text was like, let's just have it be a bro night. And everyone was like, yeah, let's do that. And we have this one friend that likes to go on a lot of dates, and he was so bummed. He's like, are you guys kidding me? You're so lame. But we had a fun time. It was a good time to just hang out with the bros. And so we went to the hockey game. First of all, it was really funny. My friend's Brian, we had just sat down, and then he turned to us. He's like, you know what? Actually, my hand is like bleeding a lot, so I'm gonna go get a Band-Aid. And then he just left. We're like, wait, what the heck? He's just bleeding? What happened? I guess he had accidentally cut himself on like a wire fence or something as we were coming in. Just like total like freak accident. Not like freak because he didn't die or anything, but it was just so random. And he was like bleeding a lot. And so he got this big old Band-Aid. And we're like, okay. He took it off later, and he had this nice gash in the palm of his hand. It was so random. I mean, he's okay. He's not gonna lose his hand or anything, but it was just so, I don't know. It was funny more than anything. Anyway. But I went to the hockey game, and it wasn't the most exciting game, but it had the craziest ending, because if anyone doesn't understand hockey, I mean, basically, they're on ice, and, they got the hockey sticks. They're trying to hit the puck into the goal, it's actually a lot harder than it looks, because the goaltender he's a big guy. He's pretty much the size of the goal, and it's really hard to get it in. But, there's three, like, not three quarters, because that wouldn't make sense. Like, there's three... What am I trying to say? Sections of the game. There's 3/3 of the game. Each one's 20 minutes. At least that's what it was for the college games that I went to. I think that's the standard time. But yeah, there's 3 parts of the game. It's like quarters or halves or whatever. And, obviously they're trying to get the puck into the goal. And the reason the game wasn't that exciting was because Utah State had a lead for most of the time. It was like, oh, they're probably going to win. BYU beat BYU, and I think the score was like 2-4 with like 10 minutes left in the last third of the game. And so it wasn't that exciting. We were pretty much expecting BYU to lose, but then within the space of 1 minute, BYU had scored 2 more points. It was so random. It was like, wow, what a comeback. And so then they were tied when the time ran out, and they had to go into overtime. And so they went into overtime, and I think they had like 5 or 10 minutes or something. I can't remember. But they had 5 or 10 minutes to, get more points than the other team. But I guess the way that it's set up is it's sudden death. It's whichever team gets a point first just wins. Doesn't matter how much time's left. That's the game. And BYU made a point. The crowd went nuts, and it was at BYU, and so all the USU fans that went, they must have been so disappointed. They're like, "Are you kidding me?" They totally thought they were gonna win, and it actually got pretty exciting. To be honest, I got so bored at one point that I was just talking to one of my friends about Marvel and Star Wars and things. We were having a nice civil discussion about our opinions about The Last Jedi and how I think it's a great movie and how he hates it and things like that, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But anyway, so that game, and hockey games are known for having their fights and things. Wow, I'm talking about hockey for a while. Maybe it'll go longer than I thought. Anyway, hockey games, the joke is like, I went to a fight and a hockey game broke out. And I mean, I think there was like one fight, but it really wasn't that bad. I mean, I feel like BYU is not really the most aggressive when it comes to those sorts of things. They typically are very honorable in terms of sports. And so there wasn't too much of that. But recently I went to another hockey game with my church group, and it was a minor league game, I believe. It wasn't like the NHL or anything, but I think it was minor league, and it was the Grizzlies versus the Oilers. I think it was Tulsa. We were playing against Tulsa or something. The Utah Grizzlies versus the Tulsa Oilers or something. I can't remember, but it was the Oilers for sure. I remember that. And we went to this one, and this was a bigger game. You know, it wasn't just college. Like, we're actually in leagues now. And it was, I guess the Oilers are the best in that region. So they pretty much creamed the Grizzlies. And again, I'm not as interested in hockey as I am other sports. So I was just talking with my friend. Carter actually was there. You know, Carter from episode 4. We were talking about various things, you know, having a blast at the game. Oh man, he's such a great guy. We were having such a fun time. And I noticed there was I don't know, I was just kind of disturbed at what I witnessed at this game. And I think this is pretty common too, which further disturbs me. So, you know, they're getting in a fight a few times, and so many fans would stand up and be like, yeah, you know, hit him, fight. And that just struck me as so weird. Just like, you're cheering for that? Like, don't you get in trouble for getting in fights in hockey? Last time I checked, I don't think it's encouraged. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just the hockey tradition. Like, it's cool to get in a fight or whatever. But so many people stood up and they're just cheering. Yeah, it was so barbaric. Like, my conclusion is that hockey fans are barbarians. Because when people get in fights in like basketball or football, you know, like the crowd will cheer things, you know, to the players like, hey, get off him, or maybe they will cheer fight, but the whole stadium just got up and was supporting it, and I was so bothered by that. I just didn't like that at all. And so maybe I'm just a weakling, you know, I'm a wimp, but yeah, anyway. So yeah, hockey fans are barbarians. You can try and convince me otherwise, but I will find that difficult to be convinced. Oh man, do you ever just feel like you aren't the best at wording things when you're just talking and the words just come out totally like, man, this is not how I planned it in my head. You know, how come I messed up? Anyway, I was watching on YouTube videos of the show Wipeout. And if you've seen that, you pretty much know what's happening. It's a bunch of people jumping around on this obstacle course and getting the wind knocked out of them at every corner. It's like a soft death trap. Like if the course was made of just metal with no padding or anything, people would die on it all the time. But obviously that's not moral to kill people on TV, so they made it padded, and it's more fun to watch. No one wants to watch people get killed, and if you do, you're a little messed up. But I was thinking about it, just comparing it to like the Colosseum games that they had in Rome or whatever, you know, the chariots. What's that movie, Ben-Hur? I've never seen it. I think there's like a couple versions of that movie, but it's like the chariot racing game or whatever. And then they have the other fighting stuff, you know, what you think of like a battle arena type thing. And I thought Wipeout is really like the modern day Colosseum, just because most people in the world, I feel like, have reached a point, their societies have reached a point where they don't want to be entertained by people dying, just because they feel like that's not moral. And so we have softened up all of the craziness, and we still want to see bodies get thrown around and stuff, so people devised Wipeout. And then people saw that and were like, you know what, let's do that, but make it strategic and more difficult. And that's where like Ultimate Ninja Warrior came, and like, you know, those shows. I know that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is going to host like his own show that's similar to that, and you know, like things like that. Anyway, I thought that was an interesting comparison. I feel like a lot of what I talk about probably isn't that interesting, but it's just totally interesting to me and I just want to talk about it, you know? I guess that's kind of an important thing to look for in a future spouse for me. Just like, you better get ready, baby, because I'm gonna be talking about random things just so that I can tell you about it. And you might not even care about it, but I just need you to listen and make me feel validated. And she'll probably love me too. Anyway, oh my goodness, earlier today I had to talk about this. Um, so it's pretty standard in houses to have smoke detectors, just in case there's a fire, you want to know about it. I feel like that's pretty normal. Um, and recently, the smoke detector in our basement was beeping. And I'm not sure what that means, but I'm pretty sure that means the battery was low. Anyway, it was starting to get annoying, so somebody took the battery out, but just left it there. And it had been like a few days, and it was just, or like a day or so, and it was on the floor. I was just thinking, like, is anyone gonna fix this? Like, it's just down there. Like, what if the one time there's a fire, it's when the smoke detector is not operational? And so this morning I had had enough. I took it upon myself to replace the battery and put it back up. And we had a lot of batteries, so I mean, that's what I don't understand. I'll need to ask my family about that, but the smoke detector was detached and the old battery was still inside, but it was just on the floor. No one even replaced the battery or put it back or anything, so I just did it. Um, and so earlier today, I was putting it back on, and oh no, I wasn't putting it back on. I just put the battery in the detector, and there's a button on the front that says hold to test. I was like, oh, okay, this'll beep if I hold it down, and that's how I'll know that it's working and that the battery's good. And I don't, I think most smoke detectors are very loud, and that was the experience I had with this one. So I held it down, and after like 5 seconds, it beeped. But it beeped so loud, and it was so high pitched that I was legitimately like stunned for a second. Like, I mean, I was holding it like right next to my face, because I need to like hold it to test it. But I don't know if there's like a warning on it that says you need to wear headphones or something like that. But I was holding it down and it went off right next to my face, and it was so loud. I mean, I've been to concerts and things, but it was such a piercing high noise that my ears were ringing like more than they usually are. Like, they were ringing so bad, and I almost like fell over. It startled me so bad. I, I guess they have like grenades like that. I think at least they do in this 007 video game I have, where like, you toss in the grenade and it's like a bright light and also a very high pitched sound. Like, I feel like if there was a bright light, I totally would have just been. It's like if you've ever done a star tipping. It's that sensation. For those that don't know what star tipping is, let me explain it just because it's really weird. Basically, you go out at night on a clear sky, preferably in the summer so it's not like freezing, and you look up at the night sky, all the stars are out. You'll want to go in a field or somewhere that has grass because you're going to fall over, and this is why. What you do is you look up at the sky and you spin around but continue staring at the sky, but spinning around in circles, just like turning yourself. And then somebody has a flashlight, and then they're like, okay, I'm ready. And then you look down and they flash you in the eyes with the flashlight. And you are just so discombobulated that you just fall over. The best one I've seen of this, one of my friends, Michael, we were doing it to him. I don't think he'd ever done it before or something. Maybe he had. But he was doing it, and the light was shown in his eyes when we told him to. And his face, he just had this look of like fear on his face. And he just like froze and just tipped over. It was the funniest thing ever. I mean, whenever I've done it, I've still been spinning and like fell over. But he just like froze and like tipped over. It was funny. You had to be there, but it was really good. Anyway, yeah, smoke detector really loud. Wear headphones when you're testing it. And then, let's see. I had my birthday recently. That was exciting. I am 21 years old now, so I can buy my own alcohol, which is a weird milestone. I mean, I'm not a drinking man. I'm not ever gonna drink alcohol, but I don't know. It's a weird milestone. You know, it's a weird point in life, I guess. Like, a lot more doors are open to me solely because of my age. And it's just kind of a weird time because all my friends are getting married. Like, I had a friend that got married last year, but like last month, like I've known 4 or 5 different people that have been married, you know, people getting these crazy degrees and whatnot. Just me and my peers are just all moving up in life. It's a strange point to be at. I think I've talked about things kind of like this in a previous, I don't like previous episode. Previous. That is weird. Anyway, sorry. Little loopy. But yeah, anyway, my birthday, I'm 21. My family made me some, well, first I guess I should talk about Saturday. Saturday, my friends took me to a trampoline place. It was really fun. We had a lot of fun time there, jumping around the trampolines and, you know, falling in the foam pits. And they have like this Ninja Warrior course that's kind of designed after the TV show. You know, it's supposed to be really hard. And it actually is pretty hard. There's only a few of the obstacles on it that I can do. Definitely none of the advanced difficulty ones. But anyway, it was a lot of fun, you know. It was kind of like a surprise. And it hadn't really occurred to me what they were doing. They just wanted to like hang out. Like, I mean, I like my birthday. It's a fun time, but it's not really something I think about very often. And so I was just totally not thinking about it. And then my sister was like, you know what? I bet they're, oh, never mind. And she didn't tell me, but I knew what she was going to say. She was going to say that they were going to surprise me. And Courtney, you don't need to feel bad because I thought of it on my own after you had said something that wasn't that. Anyway, and that was a lot of fun. We went to we went to Dairy Queen after, got a Blizzard. That was delicious. Then later we went to one of our friend's apartments that he's staying at, like his dorm, and we watched with a bunch of other people the new Jumanji movie. And I hadn't seen it before, and so that was my first experience watching the movie. There were some parts that I could have been okay not seeing. It was kind of crude at some parts, but it was actually quite funny though. There were a lot of funny parts. I just can't get it. The whole Jack Black being like acting as this girl that's just trapped in this guy's body, that totally like disturbed me the whole movie. That bothered me so bad. It was pretty funny though a lot of the time, and it had some ties with the original movie, which I thought was cool actually. And again, I'm not like a huge fan of like either movie. I mean I like Jumanji, but I'm not like super passionate about it. But it was cool to see like they referenced Robin Williams' character in the original one a few times, and like, I don't know, the place that they were in the video game was the place that Alan Parrish was in the first one when he was like stuck in Jumanji. And like you see his name carved out on this branch, and I thought that was pretty cool. It's like, huh. Wow, real exciting, Chris. Anyway, and it was a fun time. My friends are awesome, you know. They didn't have to do that for me, but they took me to do some stuff, and that was a lot of fun. You know, I got a lot of birthday wishes from various people, and it was a good experience. So, yes, now